Hey everybody, it's Richie 3Jack here with another weekend review for November 4th, 2012. This week the big news was for me that I did my debut column on GolfWRX.com. Because it received such a big response and so many comments, we've come to an agreement where I will be a featured writer for GolfWRX.com. What that entails is essentially everything in the blog and the forum will stay the same. What I'm going to try to do is essentially move more of the statistical stuff to the GolfWRX stuff, but we'll keep the blog the same as it is. It'll probably have even more stuff with regards to golf swing instruction and swing theory and equipment and club making and the world of golf in general. So I'll be doing those columns about twice a month for them. One of the other featured writers for GolfWRX is Tom Wishon. And I know I found his columns to be excellent and very informative, and a lot of stuff that I didn't know that now I kind of understand a lot better since I've been reading his work. The column that I did was mostly just kind of like an introduction to some of the work I've done, and especially like the danger zone play versus the birdie zone play. Again, danger zone play is from 175 to 225 yards, which is more towards the long irons. It's not exactly for everybody, but it's closer to that. And the birdie zone play is shots from 75 to 125 yards, which is primarily wedges and very short irons. And I showed that there is a strong correlation between success on tour and danger zone play. So with that, we got a lot of people that didn't quite agree with that, and I expected that for the most part. But eventually, kind of got them to see, most of them to see where their theories were a little bit misguided, I guess you could say. And a lot of people like to point to like errors in causation and stuff like that. That's stuff that I deal with all the time when it comes to working with statistics. But what one reader I thought made a great point was that people tend to try to point to that all the time. They kind of use it, in my opinion, from my experience, and I've dealt with this with CEOs and CFOs, and they tend to, if they don't like the answer they're going to get, they tend to point to that, even if the math shows differently, because it's kind of a crutch for them. But one of the things we did find that I thought was really interesting, one reader showed a column, or actually it was a table from Mark Brody out of Columbia University, where it shows the probability of putts made on tour by the average tour player from different distances. What's different about this one was it showed it from each, it went in 1 foot increments. So they would show like a 21-foot putt, the average tour player would putt 2.073, and then from 22 feet it would be 2.092. So I don't have the table in front of me. So the reader's theory was that danger zone play wasn't important because if you went the best on tour for the danger zone will hit the shots to about 36 feet up to the cup on average. But the average will be about 41, 42 feet. Sorry about that. So what the reader was saying was he did the math, and the math was correct, that the difference between, if everything was stayed the same, and the difference was just going from average in the danger zone to best in the danger zone, that would be about 0.22 strokes per round. So his theory was, well, it's only 0.22 strokes per round. I mean, that's not big. But in actuality, which I proved, is that 0.22 strokes per round is actually very big. That'll probably move a golfer on tour up about 25 spots in the money rankings. So that could be, when I figured it out, I did the math on average, that could be about the difference between $300,000 to $350,000 for the average tour player for the year. And as interesting as that was, I did find kind of a thing that was being neglected on it, because that math wasn't quite coming up with the same math that I have for all the metrics I've worked with. And the reason why is because while that table that shows the probability of putts made from different distances was great, the problem is that, especially when you're in the danger zone, your likelihood of missing the green is greater. So ShotLink, when they measure the data, they measure it even if it misses the green. So if you're, while we can determine that going from best or near the best to average in the danger zone would be, if every shot hit the green and landed on the green, would be about 0.22 strokes per round, it doesn't account for shots that from those distances that miss the green. And my calculations show that there's a bigger difference. So that's even adds more fuel to the fire, is why the danger zone play is so important on tour. We also did on the blog this week another great video from Mario Bevilacqua about the importance of the flat left wrist. I thought, that's stuff that we've talked about quite a bit, especially with the golfing machine. But one of the things, and this kind of goes in conjunction with what I believe as far as statistical theory, is that there's many people that can do statistical theory, but it kind of just depends on how they present the information, what reasons they come up with, and what type of viewpoints they have. So that's kind of why I like that Mario Bevilacqua video, is it showed a different viewpoint of why the flat left wrist is so important. And then we also showed the 5 Simple Keys crew from Golf Evolution. The steady head was one of their 5 simple keys. I'm a big believer in the steady head. The problem with the steady head is that the head does move, but it moves. It doesn't. There's no real way to define it as how it moves. You really don't want is you don't want. Generally, you don't want a lot of horizontal movement, and what's going to happen is usually the head will rotate. So a lot of people, they'll see like a head rotating, but so then they'll say, well, that's not a steady head. It's not a fixed position; it's a steady position. And I think it kind of surprises me that this is such a big deal, because I grew up with Golf My Way from Jack Nicklaus, and how hearing all the stories about Jack Grout holding his hair while he swung and making sure his head didn't move. It seems like a very logical viewpoint to have, and it definitely worked for Jack Nicklaus. The thing with a steady head, I can't really go into a lot of it, but it just affects so many different things in the golf swing. But I'll also say that I don't believe that every golfer, in order to be successful on tour, has to keep their head steady. Guys like Bubba Watson, Curtis Strange, they move their head quite a bit. I'm more interested in figuring out, okay, when a golfer does something, what does that cause for that particular golfer's swing? But I think guys like Curtis Strange and Bubba Watson are more the exception than the rule. And I think people could really benefit from just keeping the head, as Homer Kelly told Lynn Blake, that he wants to keep, you should keep it relatively steady. There was no fixed position standpoint when it came to the head from TGM. it's kind of a grave misconception because he had the tripod pivot theory and stuff like that. But I mean, Homer Kelly, if you read enough about him and hear about enough about him, he even said there is no real rules of as far as the golf swing goes. You don't even have to have a flat left wrist. He was very, very flexible as far as what he wanted. But if you can get into that, and I think if you can get a relatively steady head in your golf swing, I think you'll see a lot of improvement. And I think one of the greatest misconceptions that golfers have, and I think this really kills golf swing instructors, is they think when they hit it badly is because they quote unquote looked up. They weren't looking at the ball. I hear this every time I golf with my dad. No matter how I could explain it to him, he doesn't understand that when you top one or when you hit one fat, it has nothing to do with you looking up. Zero. And what happens is a lot of golfers, that's the way they think. They think that if they keep their head down at impact, they'll hit it relatively well. And then if they hit a bad shot, it's because they looked up. So they have no incentive to go out and get a lesson because they think that all their bad shots are really mostly due to looking up at impact, which does not work that way. It absolutely does not work that way. But the problem is that golf swing instructors, they don't really realize that. So that's why only about 10% of the population that plays golf goes and gets lessons. The only time they do get lessons is usually when they're hitting shanks where it's so bad that even they kind of recognize that they need to get some type of serious help. But if I was a golf instructor and I was working at a golf course, like if I had a golf academy, I would market the fact that looking up is such a big myth that it has nothing to do with your bad shots. I would try to drill that into every type of golfer or member's head that I could. You could probably get an extra 10% students, but it's just that's one of the many reasons why having a steady head is fairly important. But you can definitely learn that from the video. So that'll be about it for this week, and we'll hope to see you next week. I'll probably have my predictions up for Disney on Tuesday, and so that'll be it.